Welcome to episode 2 of Masters of the Forge Prototypes. This episode is all about Blackstone Fortress in the lore. So the spoiler wall is up now if you're not interested in hearing about that. We're going to be doing a playthrough in the next episode. The previous episode was talking about the models that come in the box set. Once again, thanks to Games Workshop for supplying a copy of Blackstone Fortress to our podcast. So Blackstone Fortresses have long been a source of lore contention among Warhammer enthusiasts. Are they? How old are they? Who created them? Everybody you ask is sure that they're correct about what the actual origins of Blackstone Fortresses are. Some say it's the old ones. Some say it's an even more ancient race. Some say it's a product of chaos, given the actual design of the fortress is supposedly the 8-pointed star of chaos. Who knows? But there have been that we know of, there have been 6 found throughout the Gothic sector. They featured prominently in the old Battlefleet Gothic game. They were a pretty powerful unit in that game. It only took 3 of the Blackstone Fortresses to cause a star to go supernova in that campaign that came with that game. It was really interesting. It was all Abaddon's having fun in the good times in the galaxy during the 12th Black Crusade. Then later on, one was used to destroy Cadia, and there's only one other one of the 6 remaining that is being captained by Huron Blackheart and in the Maelstrom. So it's not like you can. So the interesting thing about the Blackstone Fortress is, at least thing that I find the most interesting, is that it is not used to its full potential by the Imperium or Chaos. The only reason that Abaddon was able to capture all of the Blackstones that the Imperium was using was through the use of some arcane arts to shut them down temporarily and take them over. There's just enough power coursing through latent power coursing through the Blackstone that the Imperium and Chaos have been able to harness the power to operate engines and weapons that they have festooned on the side of these vessels. In reality, none of the actual technology in the Blackstone is really used by either faction, because they're just so arcane and so alien to them. But yes, there's enough power that they can kind of bolt on a bunch of stuff and use them as basically powered empty shells in their campaigns. But a new to us, Blackstone Fortress has been found in the in Segmentum Pacificus. It's in an amazing state of disrepair, with many broken apertures allowing ingress and egress. That area of space is somewhat tumultuous. There have been a rash of uprisings known as the Night of 1,000 Rebellions. You can look that up. But the Blackstone Fortress itself lies inside a kind of a dark zone. They actually call it a silent zone. The light of the Astronomicon is dim there, and there's no actual warp travel through there. Very few people have returned from the Blackstone Fortress, but those who do speak of technological wonders kind of ripe for the pilfering. The fortress is surrounded by a nebula of debris. So a lot of it is very recognizable as like old Imperial or Chaos vessels broken up and destroyed, or Xenos species that we know exist to this day. But a lot of it, more of it, is totally alien, and the wreckage demonstrates the results of a very devastating weapons array. The implication is that the Blackstone itself caused this damage. But yeah, most of the vessels that show up, they just decide that they're really there to just pilfer the nebula, which is just full of archaeotech and all manner of valuables. But the truly brave will venture deep into the nebula to board the Blackstone Fortress itself. Fortunately, some crazy space starship captains have decided to set up a waypoint just inside the nebula, between the nebula and the Blackstone. It's a station called Precipice. So if you manage to penetrate the nebula and come to the Blackstone Fortress, this is a dangerous place, but it's certainly if you've navigated through the nebula, you're probably a BA anyways. But this concordance of captains has decreed that all visitors must set aside old grudges, and if they do not, they will face some serious consequences. This is the 41st millennium after all, so I'm pretty sure there are plenty of airlocks to chuck people out of. And you're not going to get a lot of heavy weapons like fire on this station or the Blackstone itself, because the nebula of debris is so thick, only small vessels can penetrate and dock. There are a few really fun sidebars. Janus Drake, the rogue trader that's featured in the box set, he has this extreme distaste for the Xenos and other filth on the station, but his desire to obtain the archaeotech is so incredible, he just feels it's a necessary evil to work beside them. So that in itself is a great location for possibly kill team games or whatever, or obviously playing Blackstone Fortress itself, but you could role play on Precipice. It seems like a really fun location for any number of stories to be told. But then you just have the fortress itself. It has, like I said, it has lots of apertures. The one that they use most often is called the Stygian aperture. It's the closest one to Precipice and likely facing the Stygian system. It's the most stable, and it can actually there's enough kind of a armature structure there that it can dock. You can dock up to 3 transport vessels there to give any given time. Here's the really interesting thing about the fortress, in my opinion. This one seems malleable. The fortress changes shape, changes its interior shape and dimensions as explorers move through it. It's as if the vessel were designed to be whatever its denizens want it to be, which would explain a lot about how the previous 6 Blackstones were kind of these blank slates that confounded their interlopers. If the fortresses are designed to suit their owners, they would certainly not reconfigure themselves for an interloper. And it seems that this particular Blackstone Fortress has a crude intelligence, or perhaps a advanced intelligence that just has not revealed itself yet. And it is changing the internal dimensions of itself to suit itself. Perhaps it is looking for the right team to fulfill whatever needs it has to repair itself. Perhaps it has an agenda of its own, and it is looking for a way to escape the nebula and venture forth and seek out its creators. That's my thought. That's conjecture. I haven't played through the game. I assume that playing through the game, you will begin to learn details about the Blackstone Fortress. I'm really excited to hear. I don't want to spoil any of that because I think that will be part of what's interesting about playing the game. There are envelopes to unlock and things to learn. Within the fortress, there are these unreliable maglev systems that can only transport a few people at a time. That's pretty convenient for this game because you can only play with a few people at a time. Who knows how the station has decided people come in and go out. It certainly seems to be working on its own agenda. The denizens itself, some of them imitate the structure. So, like we have the spindle drones. I assume that we're going to get more of those as we go, as adventures or as adventure packs are released for this game. At least I hope they will, because a lot of people are really interested in the spindle drones and how they reflect the design of the Blackstone Fortress itself. And we also have Lord Obsidius Malix, who is a Chaos Lord. His ship crashed here after the fall of Cadia. I assume he is hoping to get the Blackstone started and bring it as a prize to Abaddon. Other characters. We have Rogue Trader Janus Drake. He's looking for Archaeotech to sell to the highest bidder. Navigator Esperin Locarno. If you'll recall, the Locarnos are a very powerful and influential house of navigators. They're looking for the contracted cargo that they've lost in the past, but also technology that would assist the navigator houses. Obviously, the Blackstone would be a treasure trove of Archaeotech and space-time technology. Minister and Priest Tadius the Purifier. They are very much interested in spreading the Imperial Creed to the region and purging the area of the unclean. In fact, it is somewhat... They got there by... They found out about the location by burning alive someone who was spreading rumors about the location of the Blackstone Fortress. So he's a nice guy. Then missionary zealot Pius Vorn, a missionary in the service of Tadius, eager to bring the gift of cleansing flame to the unrighteous. Then you have the Biltan Azuriani Ranger Amelin Shadow Guide. They have traveled the webway for years. They're on the path of the outcast. They found rumors of ancient Azuriani technology in the Blackstone, and that persists among their people. Diagric, which is a Kroot. They're basically in it for the money, and also, why not, have a snack on some of the new and unusual denizens of the Blackstone Fortress. Uart O25, which is one of the more interesting characters of, at least from a lore perspective, of the Blackstone Fortress. An official man of iron, one of the most rare and endangered species of the Imperium. I say species because the robot is technically sentient. So Uart O25 is here to see if they can collect data on the Blackstone, but Uart O25 has their own agenda as well, and it kind of sees, according to the book, it sees the space station as kind of a kindred spirit due to its kind of intelligent behavior. Then we have Rain and Rouse. They are pilfering little ratlings who are super sticky fingered. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Their spaceship might be borrowed-ish. I'm really excited about them. And then the book actually has a little section on all the travelers' spaceships. Some really cool designs for these light transport ships that remind me a little bit of Star Wars and the transports in Star Wars. You'll definitely want to have a look at that. So that's a brief rundown of the lore involving the Blackstone Fortress game. I didn't want to go too deep into it because I would love it if you could explore it yourselves. Go ahead and pick it up on the Games Workshop website or your friendly local game store. Again, we'll be back in episode 3 for a play reaction, hopefully with some additional players.
The music used in this podcast was made by Parad of the duo Sublevel 3. The track is used with his permission. This podcast is protected by the Creative Commons Attribution, No Derivatives, Non-Commercial International License. More information about this license and contact information if you have any requests can be found at our blog mastersoftheforge.com.